Marvel Studios is great at a number of things, and one of them is definitely building hype. After the devastating ending to Avengers Infinity War, it's safe to say we're eager for any news about the next film in the franchise. From what weapons we expect to see to who we expect to say goodbye to, we'll let you know about every single information leak that we've managed to collect. We know you can't wait to hear the latest rumors about Avengers 4, but first take a moment to subscribe to CBR and ring that little bell to join our notification squad so you never miss any of our MCU videos. Pretty much the second we dried the tears we shed over Avengers Infinity War, we started thinking about the next movie in the franchise. Marvel Studios waited until the last moment to reveal the title of Infinity War, and once we knew the title, we at least knew slightly more about the plot. Naturally, since Avengers 4 is some ways away, we haven't learned the official title yet. Or have we? There's a rumor going around that claims the official title for the upcoming movie will be Avengers Annihilation. Reportedly, Marvel Studios is livid about this leak since they've gone to great lengths to keep the information a secret. Comic book fans know that Annihilation is a storyline from the comic books, although it isn't one which involves the Avengers. However, both Age of Ultron and Infinity War don't have much to do with the stories they're named after, so this isn't saying much. But there's one aspect of the Annihilation comic which fans think, or at least hope, will make it into the fourth movie. Annihilus is not only one of the most popular villains around, but he's also one of the strongest. Let's be honest, as furious as we all are at Thanos right now, he's a tough act to follow. If Marvel Studios wants to introduce a new villain at this point, he or she will have some massive shoes to fill. Although we can't say for certain he'll appear, Annihilus definitely has more than enough power to rival that of the Mad Titan, and his name would coincide with Avengers Annihilation. Plus, there has been something else which hints there'll be a new villain during the next movie. Marvel released an action figure set featuring Rocket Raccoon and Thor, and the following text is found on the box. The Asgardian Thor wields the mighty Stormbreaker in his battle against new foes. And Rocket teams up with a new crew to guard the galaxy from an even greater threat. Both of these lines seem to imply that we can expect to see a powerful new villain in the next Avengers flick. This could be another sign suggesting our heroes may face off against the mighty Annihilus. Now, let's talk about the possible addition of a non-villainous character. During the beginning of Infinity War, we saw Tony Stark and Pepper Potts discussing the possibility of having a child. Stark claims to have had a dream about having a kid, which felt shockingly real. While Potts denies being pregnant, fans couldn't help but wonder about the significance of this scene. After all, dreams and visions often feature heavily in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. During an interview for Marvel's official Avengers Infinity War magazine, actress Gwyneth Paltrow had some interesting insight on the character of Pepper Potts. She said that Pepper stars as his dutiful assistant, and then the relationship evolves, and now this decade later, they're married and they have a child. The relationship has evolved in all of the ways that great romances evolve. This wasn't a quote from an anonymous source, or one reported in a tabloid or some random blog. Here's an actress heavily involved with the movies speaking to an official source, claiming Pepper and Tony will have a child together. Will Avengers 4 feature a time jump long enough for Pepper and Tony to have a child together? Is this the way Tony is going to fill the Peter Parker-shaped void in his life? After all, in the movie, we see Pepper telling Tony that he's going to be before getting cut off. She could have said single, blown up, or seeing half of all of your friends disappear in front of your very eyes, or she could have been going to say a father. But let's not get too excited about this one for now. Fans asked Joe and Anthony Russo about Tony's dream, and they were less than forthcoming about it. They claimed that Tony's child is nothing more than a figment of his imagination, but then enigmatically added, dreams are mysterious. Perhaps Pepper isn't pregnant during Infinity War, but has a child later on during a time skip. After all, she was adamant about Tony retiring, and having a baby would be a perfect reason to take a little break from the whole superhero thing. New babies are exciting and all, but we doubt one is going to help our heroes defeat Thanos. Now, let's talk about some of the new and exciting weaponry we expect to see during Avengers 4. We've seen pictures of an absurdly powerful weapon known as the Proton Cannon. At first, we were unsure who it belonged to, and many guessed it was property of War Machine. But after some more clues and consideration, we're starting to think this could be a weapon meant for Tony Stark. Naturally, he's going to be giving his suit a major overhaul after his battle with Thanos, and we wouldn't be surprised to see him adding some new gear to his arsenal. Then, there's this cryptic photo the Russo brothers posted on social media. Some people were overly focused on the latter, which is in the shape of a capital A. Could it stand for Annihilation? Confirming the leak's title? Of course, it could also stand for Avengers, or it could just be a regular ladder. But hanging on the left side of the photo appears to be the Proton Cannon. It's possible that not only will it show up during Avengers 4, but it might play an important role. Now, let's take a look at the concept art of this distinctive-looking axe. Although we don't know for sure who's going to wield it, we couldn't help but notice that it looks suspiciously like a dwarven axe once wielded by Captain Marvel. During Fear itself, Iron Man gains an arsenal of Asgardian weapons, and each Avenger gets their own piece. We love the idea of Captain Marvel wielding a massive axe, and this ties into another rumor we've heard about the fourth movie. Like pretty much all other nerds in the world, we were ecstatic to see Tyrion Lannister, Peter Dinklage, joining the MCU. During Infinity War, we saw him taking on the role of Eitri the Dwarf, a being capable of crafting weapons of immense power. We've heard that Dinklage signed a contract to appear in both Infinity War and the fourth movie in the series, which means Eitri survived the dreaded snap. We've seen Eitri create Stormbreaker out of the nearly indestructible Uru metal and learned he was the one responsible for creating the Infinity Gauntlet. Now, you might be wondering why Eitri doesn't just arm all of the surviving heroes with such powerful weaponry. It's such a good question that Star-Lord asked it during Infinity War. According to Thor, most beings lack the power necessary to wield such weapons, and in the hands of a mortal, their bodies would crumble as their minds collapsed into madness. A simple no would have sufficed, but we do see his point. But Captain Marvel has been hyped up to being an ultra-powerful figure with a strength which is positively unprecedented for heroes in the MCU. If anyone was going to be the bearer of this massive Uru axe, it seems fitting that it would be Captain Marvel. Between this axe and Stormbreaker, our heroes might just have a chance of defeating Thanos after all. Do you remember a simpler time when all our heroes had to worry about was Loki and a swarm of aliens descending upon New York City? Well, we've seen evidence suggesting our heroes will be returning to that infamous Battle of New York in one way or another. We've seen many photos of our heroes seemingly back at the site of this epic battle. Then there's the fact that Robert Downey Jr. has been spotted on set wearing the same shirt we saw during the Avengers. But this has to be much more than a mere flashback for several reasons, not the least of which is that we saw Ant-Man on set, and he wasn't even around for the Battle of New York. With this in mind, it seems as though there are two options here. The first is that our heroes will go back to the Battle of New York using time travel. Most people believe Avengers 4 will take advantage of time travel to some extent, so this theory makes sense. Another option is that they're using some sort of simulation technology in order to recreate this scene and gain some insight on how to better fight their current enemies. The Battle of New York was when we saw the Avengers first come together, and when Thanos' power first began to ripple throughout the MCU. We've seen some photos taken on set which show Tony Stark wearing a SHIELD uniform and looking older than we're used to seeing him. When compared to photos of him in his more casual shirt, it makes us wonder if we're viewing versions of him from various timelines. We've also had many more hints that our heroes will be taking a look back in time for whatever reason during Avengers 4. Marvel put out a casting call looking for actors to portray office workers from the 60s. We've seen Evangeline Lilly sporting a hairstyle more reminiscent of Ant-Man compared to her longer look in Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's not unusual to feature some sort of time skip from the previous films, and many wonder if this will be the case during Avengers 4. Earlier, we mentioned a potential Pepper Potts pregnancy being a hint that we could expect to see this movie starting a few years later after the snap. We've definitely seen photos of Tony Stark with more gray in his hair than we're used to, and we know that Emma Furman has been cast as an older Cassie Lang. Because of this evidence, the popular theory right now is that Avengers 4 will take place 5 years after Avengers Infinity War. We last saw poor Scott Lang seemingly trapped in the quantum realm during Ant-Man and the Wasp, but we have faith he will escape, if for no other reason than him being trapped for the whole movie would be really dull. It's possible our hero will slip into one of the mysterious time vortexes and emerge 5 years into the future. Not only would this explain the time jump, but it may help our heroes figure out how to actually move throughout time without relying on the Infinity Stones. Now that we've talked about when the movie will likely take place, let's talk about where it'll take place. Like most major movies, Avengers 4 has had its share of reshoots. During this time, the movie Black Panther became a massive hit, and many things think that we'll see our heroes spending a significant amount of time in Wakanda. Robert Downey Jr. sat down for an interview regarding Infinity War, which was recorded during production of Avengers 4. Eagle-eyed fans couldn't help but notice the backdrop looked pretty familiar, and that's because he's on the set of the Wakandan Design Lab. Wakanda is a powerhouse of information and technology, so it seems like the ideal place for our heroes to converge during Avengers 4. Nate Moore was the executive producer for Black Panther, and he claims that Shuri's intelligence surpasses that of even Tony Stark himself. Perhaps both she and her laboratory will have even larger roles in the upcoming film. And then we have some truly devious spoilers from an anonymous source, but one that correctly predicted much of Infinity War, including the appearance of the Red Skull and Thanos sacrificing Gamora. According to this source, our heroes will travel through time, collecting the Infinity Stones while Thanos tries desperately to stop them. Bruce Banner and his alter ego will merge into Professor Hulk and use a newly forged Infinity Gauntlet to defeat Thanos, losing his arm in the process. This source also claims only 2 of the original Avengers will survive this film, and Captain America won't be one of them. Who do you think will be the 2 remaining Avengers? Well, that's everything we know about Avengers 4 so far. What do you think is going to happen in Avengers 4? Is there anything that we might have missed? Let us know in the comments section below, and please don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more MCU videos just like this one. Thanks for watching.